Hi everyone, it's Brian here and I'm back with another tag for you all. I know we've just finished the last one, Tarot Tools Trio, and if anyone still wants to participate, although the prize draw has happened, the tag is still very much open, so if you want to join in then please do. But I thought since we had done such a good job with that one, 71 responses, I thought it would be fun to do another one for the month of March. So so I'm opening up a new tag, and there's another reason for me doing this one, and that is that I learned so much from the Tarot Tools Trio, and I realised how much it's possible to learn from people on YouTube who are willing to share information about the tools that they use and the methods they use to grow spiritually, or to maintain their spiritual health, or to connect with themselves in a way that is, you know, deeply personal and deeply powerful. That I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to learn some more about some of those tools, but thinking not so much now about tools but more about practices. And so this tag is about daily practices, morning and evening practices in fact, and I'm actually giving it two hashtags. One is going to be AM/PM tarot practices, so those of you who took part in Tarot Tools Trio can certainly still focus on the tarot angle, but I'm also going to add in another tag, and that's AM/PM pagan practices. And I'm thinking here the word pagan meaning as broad an interpretation as we could possibly manage for it, because I don't want to exclude anyone in the community from this. So if you are an eclectic solitary seeker, if you are a pantheistic pagan, if you're an atheistic pagan, if you're a Zen pagan, if you don't even call yourself a pagan but you're kind of pagan-y in your interest, then this tag is for you. And the reason I'm focusing on daily practices, morning and evening practices, is two things really. One, that I think there's quite a lot of information out there about some of the more, shall we say, standard practices, the kind of things that we might do to mark the stations on the wheel of the year, that we might use at Sabbats and Esbats and so on, or in particular ritual magic or ritual gatherings. There's a lot of information about the kind of practices that we might use then. But I'm really talking more about the kind of practices that maintain our psycho-spiritual health, if you like. And the reason that this has come up for me is that I have been kind of out of practice lately in terms of my daily practices. I've been a bit kind of off my game, as it were, but I'm beginning to get back into the practices, and what I'm noticing is that the impact, the positive impact, is huge. So I'm feeling better in myself, I'm feeling more enthusiastic about things, I'm dealing with stress better, I'm healthier, my emotions are more stable, I'm more focused at work, I'm more able to enjoy my free time. There's all kinds of benefits, and I think a large part of it comes from getting back into the kind of practices that I had been neglecting for a while. So what this tag is about us sharing what our morning practices are from a pagan stroke tarot perspective, and also what our evening practices are from a pagan stroke tarot perspective. And you can mix them all up, you can mix and match, you can add in other things. It's really, it doesn't even have to be particularly focused on the pagan tarot or spiritual angle, as long as that's part of it, then you can add in other things as well. And really this is just about sharing what it is that we do and why we do it and what we get from it. Those are the kind of the three elements. So what are your morning and evening practices, why do you do them, and what do you get from them? And if you could share and maybe even demonstrate some of those practices, that would be great. So as is traditional with tags, I will go first and I'll tell you what mine are. Oh, and by the way, I should have said that what you can also do in this tag is you don't need to be 100% focused on what you currently do. If you are in a position where you would like to get into a particular practice, maybe it's one you've done before and you've neglected, or you're in the process of getting into it, or maybe even practices that you haven't yet got into but you intend to, you can include those as well, as long as you say, you know, why you've picked them, what you hope to get out of them as a result. So let me say a little bit about my practices, and I'm going to talk a little bit here about what I used to do and what I'm beginning to do again, and the difference between doing and not doing these practices. So when I'm, if you like, at my peak, and I'm in a practice that really supports me, and I'm feeling good about it, and I'm getting good results, it looks something like this. I exercise every morning. I call it building the 4 elements of fitness. I've written about this in my book. I've written a food and fitness book, and in it I have a section called the 4 elements of fitness, and that's how I think about physical fitness, not just physical fitness, but the whole picture of fitness, really. I don't go to a gym, I'm not into that kind of stuff, but I do want to be fit. So I build the 4 elements of fitness every morning, and that's stamina, which is the kind of fitness that you get from doing things that build up your cardiovascular health, so aerobics and running and all that kind of stuff. Strength from weight training or strength training moves or kettlebells or whatever it is, so that you build strong muscles and in turn build strong bones. So strength and stamina are 2 of them. Suppleness, so the kind of exercise that makes your joints mobile and helps you to stretch and be able to balance and move and be flexible and limber and so on. And serenity. Serenity is kind of my favourite, because that's one where you just get to rest and go into a zen, relaxed kind of state. So those are the 4 elements of fitness, and when I'm at my best and feeling at my best, I build them daily. So every morning I get up and I exercise, and I do something. Sometimes it's weights, sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's step aerobics, sometimes it's going for a walk. If I'm near a pool, it might be swimming, although that's less usual. So that's one of the things I do, I exercise. And I know that if I don't exercise, I don't feel so good. Now that's a physical thing. What I've tended to do from a more kind of psycho-spiritual point of view are a couple of other things. One is, and I'm not yet back into doing this as consistently as I would like, but it's something that I used to do fairly regularly and it worked really well, and that's a chakra meditation. So just meditating, and it doesn't matter here if you believe in the chakras as an actual thing or as an actual system. What's important is that you know, from my point of view anyway, is that you're using it as a model, or I'm using it as a model to focus on different levels of my own energy and intent. So I meditate on my chakras, and that means thinking of each one, visualizing the color, seeing it spin, seeing it open, drawing energy in up from the earth into my spine, drawing energy down from the heavens into the crown of my head, and just seeing the chakras lighting up and spinning, and meditating on them until I feel this kind of hum of energy inside me that is very energizing and relaxing at the same time. And I've always found that, ever since I learned it years and years ago, a really useful practice. So I would do it in the morning, and then I'd also do it perhaps during the day. If I was about to go into a stressful meeting, I would do a very quick chakra meditation, or if I was about to go in for a job interview or something, or if I just needed to center and focus. So when I do that, I feel really good. I feel balanced, I feel centered, I feel peaceful and at one, if you like. So that's the second thing that I do, or would do in my ideal situation. The third thing is a daily tarot card draw. So I would draw a tarot card, and I would look to see what the tarot card is. And then that would give me a kind of a picture for the day ahead. And I'll come back to that in a second. And then the fourth thing is, at some point on my way to work, and in the past sometimes I've walked to work, or at least had some part of my journey walking, and other times I've been commuting in a car, but at some point on my way to work, or at some point in the beginning part of my day, wherever it is I'm going, or even if it's just if I'm wandering around the house, I would do a mindfulness walk, where in part of the journey I would try to go into a mindful state where I'm not thinking or interpreting things as much as I would normally. I'm just allowing things to be there and to observe them in a mindful way. And that all sounds like a lot, but it actually isn't when you think about it. You know, getting up, exercising, doing a chakra meditation, drawing a tarot card, and then part of the journey being a mindful walk. It's all quick, easy stuff to do, but also easy stuff to not do if you get out of the habit. Stephen Covey, the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that kind of management guidebook, he talks about something called the daily victory, I think he calls it, which is this thing that you feel if you do your morning practice. I don't really like that term because it's very kind of command and control and battlefield kind of language. But I think he does have a point that, you know, when you commit to a practice and you do it and you feel good about it as a result, it can really make you feel good about yourself, and it makes it easier then to face things as the day goes on. So yeah, so that's my morning practice when things are working well. And of course things can go wrong with that. So I've learned, for example, don't do the chakra meditation while you're still in bed, because you might fall asleep again. Don't do it in the bath, because you might fall asleep in the bath if you're having a bath. If you're doing your mindful walk, just make sure that you don't, you know, walk in front of a moving car or something like that. So be careful with these practices and be sensible with them. And it does take a bit of discipline. It does take a bit of discipline to do them. But those are my morning practices, my AM practices. And then my PM practices are probably a little bit simpler in some ways, partly because at the end of the day, who has time to do anything too in-depth? But the first one is reflecting on the tarot card that I drew in the morning. So reflecting on my daily draw card and asking myself, in what way was this card relevant for the day? What did I learn from the energy of this card? Is it telling me something now that I didn't know or didn't hear when I pulled it in the morning? What can I take from that? And what can I learn from it? So that's the first thing. And then moving into a gratitude exercise where I would consider what are the things, even if I've had a really crappy day, what are the things that I can be grateful for in the day that's just happened? And perhaps I would journal some of that gratitude, and maybe would journal what I'd observed through the daily card as well. So that would be my second thing. And then the third thing would depend on really where I was at and how I was feeling and what I felt I needed. But it would be either a visualization exercise, and this usually I would do just before going to sleep actually, so sometimes I would do it in bed, and maybe even as a means of getting to sleep. Either a visualization exercise or a kind of mindfulness meditation. And if it's the mindfulness meditation, then it would be very much like the mindful walk, just observing, trying to not judge, just being present, just noticing, and just allowing myself to be at the end of the day, after a day of doing and running and getting to places and going from A to B to Z, just being, just allowing. That would be, or can be, a very important practice. Or the other one that I like to do is a visualization exercise, and I have a couple of favourites. I've mentioned one before on this channel actually, and it's the one that I do when I'm feeling really stressed and burdened. And in the visualization I imagine that I'm running through a forest or walking through a very dark forest, and it's pouring with rain and the wind's howling and it's just really, really uncomfortable, and I've got this huge rucksack on my back that's full of what feel like bricks. It's just really, really heavy, and really what's in there, of course, is all my stress and my cares and my worries. And I imagine myself going through this forest, and it's dark and it's cold and it's wet and it's just horrible. And eventually I come to a clearing in the forest, and in the clearing there's a little cottage, and in the cottage there are little windows and a little door, and there's a chimney, and there's lovely welcoming light coming out of the cottage, and there's smoke coming out of the chimney, and even in the midst of the rain and the howling gale and just feeling terrible, this little cottage is really welcoming. And I go to the door of the cottage and I knock on the door, and the door opens, and there's a little old lady, a very kind of grandmotherly figure, who of course is a witch. I know that in the visualization that she's a witch, a good witch. And she has a little bun, and she has little wire-rimmed glasses, and I go in. I know this sounds a bit Hansel and Gretel, but it's not really. I go in and I get a lovely bath in a natural spring bath that just, you know, with a hole in the ground in our cottage, but it's got all these natural springs in it and magical crystals around, and I get in there and I soak, and all my troubles are just soaked away, and she gives me a delicious meal. It's some kind of amazing stew made from things of the forest, and it's just delicious, and some marvellous homemade wine, of course. And then I get to sleep in a really comfortable, heavy feather bed, and it's just wonderful. And usually by that point in the visualization I have fallen asleep, but I find that really comforting and energizing, and it's a lovely visualization. Then the other one sometimes is one where if I feel that I need guidance, and maybe I'm dealing with an issue that I can't find a solution for rationally, and I feel that I need help, but I don't know what kind of help I need. And so my practice there, my visualization there, is that I'm walking along a beach usually. It's a kind of sandy beach, and it's usually, possibly usually nighttime or dusk in the visualization. It doesn't matter really. And as I'm walking along this beach and it's deserted, there's just me, I notice a kind of rocky cliff face leading up into some hills and mountains, and up in the rock face I see a cave mouth, and I climb up there and I go into the cave mouth, and in the cave it's dark but lit by candlelight. There is a hooded figure, nothing sinister, but a quiet, silent hooded figure. No idea whether this hooded figure is male or female or not even human. But there's this hooded figure sitting in front of or behind a stone table, and I go and sit down in front of the stone table in a seat opposite. And in the visualization, the hooded figure has a bag, almost like a bag of runes or something, but it's just a pouch of some sort, and they open it. And what I know is that I'm going to put my hand into the bag and I'm going to pull something out. And what I pull out of the bag is going to be a symbol that is symbolic of exactly what I need in the moment to feel better and do better and be more whole. And so in the visualization I put my hand in the bag and I pull it out, and you know, sometimes it's a ball of light or a golden key or some kind of abstract shape or a stone or a crystal or a feather or goodness knows what. It could be anything in the visualization, and I let the visualization I let the image come to me. I don't overthink it, I just allow that to happen. And if I'm still awake by that point, then I take that tool and I walk back along the beach, and sometimes I've fallen asleep by then so I don't actually get the gift, but that's kind of not the point. And if I do get the gift, then I walk along the beach and at some point I'll fall asleep, usually in the visualization. Sometimes I complete the visualizations and sometimes I don't. So that's my PM practice, and I think you'll see that they're both really quite straightforward and simple, but I don't always do them. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get back into the practice of those practices. So I want to hear from you what your practices are, your AM and your PM pagan practices or spiritual practices, whatever you want to call it, but we'll use the hashtag AM, PM pagan practices or practice, and or your tarot practices, AM, PM tarot practice. And you can mix and match and you can combine. They can be as simple or as complicated as you like, as long as they are the things that you would realistically do or could realistically do or want to realistically do first thing in the morning before your day begins and last thing in the day before you go to sleep. That's the challenge, and I really look forward to hearing what your responses are. And there is a prize. Again, there is a prize for the winner of this tag, and we'll do what we did the last time. At the end of it, I will put the names into a hat or a bowl, and I'll pull a name out, and the winner will get their choice of either the Universal Weight Tarot, nearly new. It is a used copy, but it's nearly new, excellent condition, or the Hobbit Tarot, which is new really. It's been opened and looked at, but it's not been used. So your choice, you get one of those, plus you get something else, and you get a coaching stroke tarot session with me, and we can do it in whichever way works best for you. So we could do it by email. If you simply want to have a straightforward tarot reading by email, we could do that. Or if you want to do a coaching session by Skype, we could do that, or by telephone, depending where you are in the world, or even in person if you happen to live near me. I'm in Birmingham, England, so if you win and you're close to me and you want to meet for a session, then that would be fine as well. But those are the prizes. So the winner will get one of their choice of the Universal Weight Tarot and or the Hobbit Tarot, and a coaching stroke tarot session with me. So good luck and enjoy, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what your AM, PM practices are, and yeah, I'm sure it's going to be great. So thank you all very much for listening to this, and I'll speak to you all and see you all very soon. Take care everyone, bye.